Welcome back to Things of Gold, a snarky puppy podcast by Storm Sound and Osiris Media. My name is Ryan Storm.
And I'm Megan Gliona.
And it's hard to believe, but this is the final episode of Season 1 of Things of Gold. We've made it 12 shows in. It's crazy how the time has flown, and also it seems like we've been doing this forever.
Yeah, time is weird like that, but what a journey this has been. I feel like I've learned so much and have really enjoyed spending the time with you too, Ryan. It's been so nice.
It's been amazing to watch you go from knowing nothing about this band to now, being nitpicky about the same things that I'm nitpicky about, which I feel like part of it is my fault. When you read my notes as you're making your notes.
Yeah, it's true.
So
it's okay. We influence each other, and that's great. And
yes.
It's just been so awesome I feel like I've gotten to know the people in the band. I mean, obviously I haven't, but I feel like I have through watching them perform in all these different performances. And that's what's been really cool too, is just getting to know this super dynamic band made up of all these just incredible musicians and learn about, how they play and their personalities as musicians. And that's just been super fun.
Yeah, and speaking of watching them perform, we're very lucky that the show we're talking about today exists in its entirety on YouTube. So we were able to, watch the show while we were making notes this time, which is not something we've been able to do for any of the previous episodes. So that is very exciting. Thank you to Alan DMJ, I believe is the channel name on Twitter, for filming this whole show. I spent I spent a little bit of time syncing up the soundboard audio, so we had the best of both worlds there. So we've got a nice little concert film thing going on. But
and thank you for doing that, Ryan, because it really is amazing. Especially, we were talking about this a little bit before we went live, but especially watching Bobby and Sean in this show. I mean, it's really fun, and just watching all of them and how they interact with each other and support each other and get excited when they hear each other perform. It's really special.
Yeah, and so, we're now alluding a lot to what the show is, but we're going to talk about today, November 22nd, 2019, in Paris, France, in the final week of the 7-month Immigrance tour. Very, very exciting. But before we get into the show and who's on stage, Megan, tell me about the Salle Pleyel.
Yeah, so this is the Salle Pleyel, and it's a concert hall. It's in the 8th arrondissement in Paris, which is, if you know Paris, you know this area. It's central Paris. It borders the Arc de Triomphe, the Museum of Modern Art. The Champs-Élysées runs right down the middle of it. It's just north of and borders the Seine River. This is the heart of Paris. And this concert hall was built almost 100 years ago. And it was built by an acoustician and an architect. And it, until very recently, I think, was the Orchestra of Paris and the Philharmonic of Radio France both performed there. So it is a real concert hall for real musicians, and the acoustics must be unbelievable in this place. It's beautiful. The capacity is 2,000, and it's a gorgeous place.
Yeah, it looks absolutely gorgeous, on the video, and just the way that the stage looks. It just, everyone looks like they have a great sight line, which is really, really cool. What's also interesting is that, they played here in Paris. Then the next time they played in Paris, 3 years later in 2022, they played in a 7,000 capacity arena.
Wow.
Which is pretty big jump up from 2000. So that's interesting to note.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a really big jump and exciting. This place looked like an incredible place to see music, and the audience seems super engaged. They're all on their feet. From the recording, you can tell they're not sitting down. People look really excited about it.
Yeah. Now, it looked like it may have been some standing room on the floor. I hope that people, in seats were standing up, because I know a lot of Snarky Puppy crowds tend to sit down if there are seats. But it's good to see a lot of people, moving and grooving, being very active. And I think the band kind of felt that energy, when it comes through in this set. There's a lot of, the band feels very, very relaxed, and they're just playing songs. Again, it's the end of a 7-month tour. It's the home stretch. A week from now they get to go home and not have to play. Not that they don't like being on tour, but then the tour's over. They get a couple months off, relax, unwind, and they're like, we're gonna finish strong here.
I know. I mean, it's incredible because we'll talk about it later, but they also seem very inspired and like they do not want to stop playing. And
Yeah.
it's incredible to think that this is the end of a 7-month tour. I mean, wow, like the stamina of these guys. And yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think there is standing room for like 400 people at this venue. So maybe that's kind of in front of the seats. I don't know. But that was kind of the one thing that I was disappointed about when I saw Snarky Puppy at the Beacon was everybody was sitting and
Hmm.
I don't like to sit at concerts.
No, yeah,
So
gotta dance.
yeah, you gotta dance, man.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I keep mentioning they're at the tail end of a 7-month tour. They've been in Europe for about a month. We talked about in episode 11, a show from just short of a month earlier, um, in Hamburg, Germany, and they've been kind of bouncing all over the place. This is now a week and a half or so after their Grammy winning Live at the Royal Albert Hall show, which is cool. That we've had some lineup changes since the last one. Now we've got probably one of the most full sounding Snarky Puppy lineups I've ever heard. But here's who we've got today. We've got Michael League on bass, Jason JT Thomas on the drums, Keita Ogawa on percussion, Chris Bullock on the tenor sax and flute, Mike Maher on the trumpet and flugelhorn, Zach Brock on the violin, Chris McQueen on the guitar, Justin Stanton on keyboards and trumpet, Sean Martin on keyboards, and Bobby Sparks on keyboards. We've got 3 keyboards. We've got the violin. It's just like every part. We heard a lot in the last episode, Sean taking a Bobby part in a song on Talkbox, or Justin covering a Zach part on Moog. Here, everyone's playing their parts. I feel like the only thing that this lineup is missing is like if you put like Bob Reynolds in to cover some of the parts that are like for the saxes only, like in Bad Kids, then that's like the only thing, and like a second guitar. But like this is as full of a lineup as you're gonna get. Pretty much like
Yeah.
on a regular tour, outside of like a special show like you saw at the Beacon with like every member of the band.
Yeah, that was amazing. I know I was spoiled. But
Yeah.
yeah, and you can feel that fullness for sure. And of course, anytime Bob Reynolds is not in the lineup is sad for me, but they sound so full and incredible and I'm excited to get into this show.
Yes. Well, let's dig in here. We open up with Kite. This feels really really good, easing into the show, and immediately it's like, oh, 3 keyboards. We haven't had a 3 keyboard episode in a really long time. Actually, no, it hasn't been that long. I guess since episode 8, I think was our last. Nope, we had this exact same 3 keyboard setup in episode 9. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
It's hard to remember. I mean, I wouldn't know, I don't remember these things.
We heard these 3 keyboards in Japan in April of 2019. And there's a lot of comparisons that could be made to some of the performances, and kind of talk about that when we get to those songs later. But the 3 keyboard layers of Rhodes, piano, and organ, as soon as Kite starts, I was just like, oh man, like it's just beautiful how well they layer together. Each of them knows where their space is in the music, and they fill that space. Sometimes maybe 3 keyboards could feel a little bit overbearing, but they just find their spot sonically, and it's unbelievable.
There are so many moments like that in this show where, and I felt like this when I saw them at the Beacon too. How many musicians are on the stage playing together, but they are not overwhelming each other? And
Mhm.
it's incredible. And there's even a lot of quiet moments in this show where a lot of people are playing music, but it's so kind of measured. And there's just this quality to, I think at this show especially, they sound really confident and like they're not in a hurry. And I think that that is the way that they kind of open this show. It just sounds like we've been doing this for a while. We know what we're doing. We've been playing together. We know where the other person's going to be. It's great.
Yeah. And we get a nice Bullock solo here on the first part of Kite. Really, really interesting. But I mean, so Michael also was on fire in this show.
Yes,
Like the
yes.
way what he's doing in like the quieter sections, we'll talk about a couple more later. But some of his like the bass lines, and then obviously he's got a bigger feature solo towards the end of the show. But what really struck me in this Kite and in While We're Young, which we'll talk about in a couple of songs, is just what he's doing to kind of prod the soloist along, very very subtly.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, there's Michael very obviously, kind of tossing ideas to Bullock and kind of shaping where the solo's going. It's like, no, you're listening closely and it's like, oh, Michael's doing some really cool shit right now.
Yeah, I feel like he really stands out in this show, which usually I feel like he takes the back seat just because he loves to like give the other musicians kind of the floor. But I loved seeing him kind of shine in the show, and this solo with Bullock is amazing. I mean, Bullock sounds so relaxed and dreamy, but also inspired and has a lot of emotion to it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, and then Justin, does his thing on the outro here, very very slow. Nice comparing his two Rhodes solos in this show. This one and the other one that happens towards the end of this one, very slow, takes his time. Lot of that Herbie Hancock vibe, and some of the jazzier chords he's playing here. But it's just unbelievable. Again, Michael, watching the video here, just watching Michael just standing next to Justin and just vibing off of him is so so cool. It's two guys who, two of the guys that have been at every single show on the
Yeah,
7-month tour, and it's like, it's telepathic. Not that they all don't have
totally.
that kind of connection. There's a specific one. Justin and Michael have been standing next to each other for 7 months playing these songs, and so it's like a back and forth, unbelievable. A little bit of warbly organ from
I love
Bobby.
that. The
Yeah.
balance of that, what Bobby's doing in the organ, against the kind of softness and delicateness of Justin's solo is really magical. It
Hmm.
sounds so nice together, how they're kind of like balancing each other.
Yeah, agreed. And then just the cool thing about Kite too is a lot of the solos that start kind of quiet and low in Snarky Puppy will end up building up to some like big like euphoric moment or peak or whatever. Kite just kind of goes and floats along and then dissolves into the horn outro, and it's lovely.
I love that. Not every song has to peak,
Yeah.
and I think that that's what makes the peaks better is when you don't always go there.
Hmm.
I think
And
it's like
it
that with jamming too, and a lot of the bands that we love. When you improvise or jam and it always goes to a peak, it becomes predictable. And so it's really fun that they have these songs that are meant to melt or have these different kind of endings.
100%. And then we move into our second song of the night in Intelligent Design. So we talked about Alma in the last episode being like a bust out of sorts, and how there was another song that they busted out on this fall Europe tour that hadn't been played in a little while. Intelligent Design is that song. So again, it has that old school Snarky Puppy feel that we talked about when we were talking about Alma in the last one. I love this like space age sounding synth line from Justin that it's through most of the song, but it really like it's awesome. I love the way this song feels. Again, that old school snarky feel is just awesome.
Yeah, and it has the drums are almost kind of like trip hop. It has that kind of like beat that just like pulses and keeps you going, which is
Yes.
really nice, like throughout the whole song.
Definitely. And this song is cool because a lot of the earlier Snarky Puppy songs don't have three solo sections. That's kind of a more of a recent thing. Songs like Xavi or RLs or Go. Um, this one, Maz takes the first solo, filtered effects trumpet, and it's cool watching him. He's basically has his trumpet like pressed up on the microphone
So
for
cool.
for the whole solo, which is cool to watch. But just really really fast. Feels like he's kind of in like a dog fight. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that analogy. And Justin is doing the synth patch with like it's really fuzzy and super repetitive, which sounds
mhm.
so cool against that.
Yeah, and then I love the like breakdown with Maz and drums. Like again, like even faster runs on the trumpet. It's just like rapid fire, just amazing 16th note stuff. It's really cool. And
Yeah,
then
this song moves through each section really quickly, and
mhm.
it kind of changes on a dime, which I guess is kind of that old school snarky puppy feel too, when you've got like lots of sections that are moving really quick and changing quickly.
Yeah, really phonetic,
Yeah.
frenetic. And then second solo, we get some guitar from McQueen here, and it's just like very, very melodic and gentle to start. Which is kind of the opposite of how this song feels, especially
Yeah.
for the first half. That intro even it's not very gentle. It's very very aggressive for most of this song. So it's cool to hear a different side of it with this McQueen solo.
Yeah, and I love how McQueen will like play something and the horns will like lightly echo it. Has this
Hmm.
kind of like reverberating feeling. It's nice.
Yeah, and then an excellent Keita solo. To take it out here, everyone kind of drops out, and it's just Keita and Justin's synth thing. But really, really cool. Deeper tones on percussion. Lots of very heavy hitting sounds. Kind of going with the vibe of the song. But I love Intelligent Design. Really big fan of it.
Yeah, I do too. And the part that leads right up to Kata's solo is there's so much going on. There's like horns, drums, percussion, synth. Everything is just like driving, and it lands in that solo.
Mhm, definitely. And then our next song, one of my highlights of the show, easily, is While We're Young. This is one of my favorite Immigrance songs. I wish they'd bring this back into the rotation, this fall, please. um,
Yeah, you never know.
anything can happen. But yeah, another kind of a slower tune, but like an absolutely liquid clav melody. I find sometimes that Bobby, based on maybe where his amp is on stage, kind of the pedal configuration, whatever it is. Sometimes there's a lot of feedback happening around the clav, and it's very heavily distorted. And we hear some of that on purpose later on in the show. But in While We're Young, he's just got that tone dialed in perfectly. It just sounds like kind of like a guitar, but it's unbelievable. And this intro is just it's just such a vibe. You've got the clav, you've got Bobby then moves to the organ, you've got the mellotron textures from Sean, McQueen, and Zach harmonizing on the melody there. It's just awesome.
It's really cool. You hear the audience clapping for a minute. It has this really like off kilter, kind of like out of tune feeling. And then it kind of eases in and the organ comes in. And then when Zach does his solo, oh my God, he's playing like super scratchy.
Hmm.
And you can see him dancing while he's playing, which is so cool. I mean, that man plays with so much soul, and his violin is so piercing. And I just love watching Michael come in after it. It's like, it sounds so good. And I can't get over Zach. I mean, I've never heard a violin sound like that. He uses distortion in like a really interesting way, and his solo builds to like a perfect, awesome peak. And then he just kind of dances on that peak. It's beautiful. I love it.
It's unbelievable, honestly. Yeah,
Mhm.
like it's just such a patient build. Sounds like Michael almost teases Thriller at one point, which could just be my insane nerd brain, playing tricks
You
on
know,
me.
I don't hear teases like you do, so I'm gonna say that it's there if you heard it.
If
But
anyone else hears a Thriller CCP, let me know. Uh, but yeah, it's amazing. Little Bobby kind of adds some little riffs in on clav, very very subtle. I've listened to this version a number of times before, and I didn't really pay attention to that when I was listening for this episode. I kind of really honed in on like, whoa, like those are really cool, and they're like adding to the vibe. It just kind of feels like part of the groove while Zach is soloing. It's amazing, and I love the way that slide guitar comes back in on the outro,
mhm.
and just feels so euphoric. coming out towards the end. And, Sean was having a good time.
Sean looks like he always has a good time. He is
Yes.
just honestly, I would go to a Snarky Puppy show just to watch Sean. Like
Yeah.
that is enough of worth the price of my admission for sure. They're
Yeah.
all feeling it though. Everybody's feeling this song. If you look across the stage, everybody looks like they are just like into it.
Yes. Yes. And then from there, you can tell we're 3 songs in. 2 of them have been kind of down tempo. One of them is like weird, intelligent design. And so we needed something upbeat here. And they just ripped right into Bad Kids, which was perfect call. Big applause to Michael for his setlist construction in this show, except for one song, which we'll talk about later, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is perfect set listing though.
Yeah, this call right here is amazing. Michael just the fills that he's doing right at the beginning here. I like my jaw was on the floor. I was like, what is he doing? This is awesome.
I know. I feel like this whole show, and then also our bonus song that we're going to talk about at the end, Michael's just absolutely on fire.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then we get a Bobby solo here, his first solo of many in this show. But just the way he takes organ on Bad Kids, comparing this one to the Royal Albert Hall one is pretty cool too. I think I like this solo a little bit better. I feel like there's a little more aggression in this solo. Little bit of jazzy stuff. JT getting in on the action, doing some crazy fills. But it's just an amazing organ solo. He's pretty good at playing keyboards.
He's kind of good. Yeah, I mean, and what a cool looking dude. He has like that awesome hair and these big hoop earrings. Like he's so awesome looking. And his hands are just flying over the keys. He makes it look so easy. And I know it's not,
Yeah,
I know
right.
it's not easy, but he makes it look just like it's like effortless for him. It's awesome to watch. I was so glad I saw a video of this because they have some really good shots of him on this.
Yeah, I hope he grows that hair back out.
It
someday.
is so good.
It's
so good.
It's pretty great. And then JT's drum solo, he starts with a very snare-based theme and just kind of builds it from there. Just, again, trashing the solo. Excellent.
He has a couple of these in this show that are so fast. And this one is the rhythms are so complicated. And if you watch the video, you can see Michael and McQueen just like smiling at each other like, damn, this guy's killing it,
Yeah.
And then they all come back in perfectly. It's just so satisfying. It's like that homecoming that you want at the end of a song. And yeah, I really love this version's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this song is just awesome. And again, another thing where you now have the violin, you've got it harmonizing with the guitar on some of the parts in here. So great to hear that. Then we move into Bigly Strictness from there. This one is excellent version. Once again, we have those many layers, different keyboards, the guitar, etc. But it just the intro sounds great again.
Yeah, that's what stood out to me. I mean, maybe it is just because of the 3 keyboards, but the layers and textures in this intro are just phenomenal. And, it's just got such a swagger to it. I think Justin's solo is the way that he solos is he never seems to be like working hard. He seems like he's always kind of just like dancing on top of the keys. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it. It's just stands up from the Moog. Just vibing out, like
he's like dancing.
Yeah.
It's like I can do this in my sleep. Like he makes it look so easy too. I mean, these guys are just, and maybe that's what 7 months on the road will do to you. But he's getting after it.
Yeah, and this solo is cool too. You have these very subtle bends from him, and I love the transition from his solo into McQueen's. He does like a little like like little walk down on the synth, and then it just crashes headlong into McQueen's solo, as the second section of Bigly Strictness does. And I kind of imagine McQueen's solo as like a giant like sea serpent like rising out of the water like as it's happening. I don't know if that makes any sort of sense, but that's the image. That's the image I get.
Well, I loved it because I read your notes as I'm writing mine, and so it was fun to picture that like image as I was listening, and it's so right. I mean, and that's so like McQueen too. I feel like so many of his solos just come out of like they emerge and they just like dominate. So this is great. I mean, he is raring to go in this solo. He just gets after it. It's so fun to watch.
Definitely, and it delivers. And then I love it's like you have this kind of funky first solo. You have this like quick minute or so of just like rage in the middle, and then it just goes quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have that, the very serene part, a little bit of horn action, and then Sean, does the outro on the vocoder. I think this is the first vocoder we've heard on the pod. I don't think he used it at all in the Hamburg show, but it's unbelievable what he does here. It's so special. It's just like it's there's so much emotion in it, and watching him sing the solo into the mic on this video is really, really cool. And watching how the vocoder works and watching him kind of move away and towards the mic to kind of play with the volume and swells and stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. And it is truly amazing to watch. It does have that kind of visceral feeling to it. It's like watching someone do something from like their soul. Like he's just really laying into it in the same way that you would watch someone like sing at a church. Like he's really like giving it. It's something that I watched and then went back and watched again because I was like, I have to see how he's doing this. Like it is really, really cool. Yeah.
It's seriously excellent. I think this is one of my favorite versions of Bigly Strictness for sure. Just three really, really strong solos. I think there's one that I think I put ahead of this one. I think it's 11/4/19 from Antwerp. But this one it's unbelievable. And I could listen to that outro with Sean on vocoder for like forever.
Yeah, just keep playing that for me.
Yeah, it's so good. And then next we've got Thing of Gold.
Wait, Ryan, you forgot something.
Ah, damn, you got me. I guess we'll talk about Tio Macaco. I feel like I'm being a little bit too mean about it.
It's okay. We talk a lot about all the things we love about Snarky Puppy. We spend most of the show talking about all the good stuff. It's not a bad song. I think the congas are really nice. Kato looks like he's having a lot of fun. For me, it's just it doesn't fit the vibe. This show has like an impeccable flow, except for this moment. And so I also just cannot take the flute seriously ever since I watched Anchorman. If it just like I can't. All I can ever think of is that movie. Whenever I see someone play the jazz flute, it's ruined for me.
That's hilarious. It's also like poor Bullock because like his flute solo is awesome, but it's just Ron Burgundy. Is it also because he has a mustache?
Yeah, I mean, it's just all too perfect.
That helped.
I've also seen that movie way too many times. Like I will admit to that movie being one of my favorites, and so I can't get away from it. But yeah, it's just like, you just want him to say like, "I'm so unprepared," and then just like whip it out of his, of his like sleeve.
Macaco. And I wasn't ready.
Yeah. I wasn't ready. Yeah, but it's okay. Then they they get into things.
That's good. So I can put that in the description of the episode.
Yeah.
We talk about Anchorman in this episode of Things of Gold.
Exactly. That will
That's a
definitely
selling
make
point.
people listen. I think so.
Yes. But yeah, To, I agree with everything you said there. You know, it's not a bad song. It just doesn't really translate as well live. I feel like also the 10-minute drum solo. It might not be actually 10 minutes long. It's more like 6 or 7. But it's a long time for nothing to be happening. And you know, there are better drum showcases and percussion elsewhere in this show where you know there's nothing
Yeah.
like as cool as it is and as awesome as it is to see JT and Kata working together. They do that again later in the show, and it's
Yeah.
cooler because there's a melodic idea for them to play off of. You know, I feel like a drum solo on its own for this long just gets a little tedious. Just like, you know, like I love Led Zeppelin, I love Moby Dick. I don't need to listen to a 15-minute Moby Dick drum solo.
Yeah.
I would
No,
get
I
bored.
agree. It's never been my thing either,
That's not to, you know, anyone who's gonna be like, you hate John Bonham. Like, no, incredible drummer. I don't need to listen to drums only for 15 minutes.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm
And
with
that's what
you.
I love about John Fishman. Anyway,
Yeah.
because he doesn't do that. Thing of Gold here. Unique intro. You know, we heard 2 versions with that Justin Rhodes intro in the last episode. This one, get a spacey little Michael bass intro, continuing the Michael MVP run of this show.
Oh.
Really cool. I just remember hearing this for the first time and being like, oh, like I love the vibe, what's going on here. This is really, really cool. And you know, the way that like Justin and Bullock and the drums and everyone kind of like seeps in with him and kind of plays along to this funkier rhythm ahead of that, you know, the first Sean section. But
Yeah, it's
what
really
did you think of this
soft.
intro?
It's really soft and really playful. And I love how Bullock's kind of like hinting at the song riff, but
Mm-hmm.
not like fully laying in yet. You can just kind of hear him playing, like toying with it. It's so nice. They do that a couple times with, I think, in Quartermaster later too, where they really like stretch out that moment of like getting into the song, and it works really well.
Yeah, definitely. You just reminded me that we get to talk about a Quartermaster short. I'm
My
excited.
fave.
I love the way too that, you know, we hear Bobby kind of underneath Sean on the organ, and I find, you know, later, like going into the outro, Sean just kind of coasts on top of the organ, you know, into his beautiful soaring outro, which is great. But before we get there, you know, nice little funky Bullock solo here on the "Don't Stop the Music" vamp, which is cool. You know, again, we get that clav adding that extra grit to the song here that we didn't have in the last episode. It's sick.
Oh, it's super funk. It's like crunchy and textured. It just reminded me of like chocolate and peanut butter. You know, it's like it just really works well together and just delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I love this section.
Yeah.
And then when Bullock does that solo after the Don't Stop the Music vamp, there's just this deep funk underneath and the solo kind of rides above it. It's like screechy. It just sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then, you know, Sean, as I said, does his beautiful outro, and then the Sean interlude, if you will. Really, really cool stuff. You know, playing with a lot of delay, some nice little electric piano comping happening here, and kind of goes for a while, and you know, he just kind of fades and like leaves like the last note hanging. You know, he doesn't resolve it right away, and he doesn't resolve it because the resolution is just chunks happening right there. And
I love
I
that.
love the transition. It's so good.
Yeah, such a seamless segue. It's so nice. Works so perfectly.
And also watching the faces he makes when he starts playing
Yeah.
Chonks, like on Talkbox, it's just he's just like making faces at people in the crowd for like the entire song.
So awesome.
Yeah, it's really really cool. And honestly, and Thing of Gold too, like when he does that like really big like ew at the end, he does like a really weird face, and it's hilarious.
He's wildly entertaining.
Yeah.
He really is.
Absolutely. And so, obviously we've talked about Chonks in the last bunch of episodes. This song is just great. This is the first one we've heard with Bobby and Sean since episode 9 when we heard the one from Japan. And so comparing these two, that one felt a lot tighter, felt a lot more true to what the studio version sounds like. This one, it's like, we've been playing this for 7 months. Let's do some cool shit with it. Like it's they're out there. They extend a couple of sections. Bobby's clav fills are just ridiculous all over the place. You can hear, if you listen closely, the first break, you can hear Bullet go, woo! At Bobby's first clav lick. You can see it on the video too. But it's always funny when they react like that to each other's playing.
It's the best. That's one of the funnest things about Snarky Puppy is like watching them react to each other. And it's the same way with any band. Like if you watch anybody in Fish, like when people, or even in Goose, when you hear them like yell like yeah, or like ooh, that like they're feeling it.
Yeah,
they
it's
are
good.
Feeling it. And the interplay between Sean and Bobby in this song is just
unbelievable.
These motherfuckers are so cool, and they're just so vibing off each other, and it's awesome that they're right next to each other. They just clearly like enjoy playing together so much, and it's so awesome. And I was watching them interact with each other, and then the camera kind of pans out and you see Michael, and he's just over there like getting the fuck down. He's just like
he's just watching the two of them. Yeah.
Just dancing so good. It hits so hard. It's just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. And an excellent McQueen solo here, full of swagger. Very, very Texas solo from him in the middle section here. I love that kind of like, I don't know if it's like a vibrato effect that he's got going on there, but it's an excellent, excellent solo. JT keeping that groove locked down. Kind of a faster, feels like a faster tempo here. It's just great solo in the middle. And then
at the end, after like, you've got this Sean and Bobby interplay, the whole band comes in and the sound is so big. It's so great. And Bobby sounds like he's playing a guitar. I mean, I don't know. Is that some sort of like, how is he doing that?
So it's a clavinet in a guitar amp with a whammy pedal thing and also a bunch of distortion pedals and probably assorted other pedals. But it sounds like a guitar, mega clav tweet,
yes.
if you will. But
I mean, is this the best clav ever? I mean, it's like...
It might be.
It's like squealing. It has like fuzz on it. I mean, it really sounds like a guitar, and it's so cool that it's coming from keys. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I love, again, in the last couple of chonks that we heard, very straight ahead outro, not any of these breakdowns. Here we get first, everyone drops out except for JT and Bobby. Bobby just keeps destroying things, like everything in sight. And then JT drops out, Bobby does some shredding on his own, and everyone just kind of slams back into the end of the song. And it's so good, and then you get that little like bonus little outro thing with Bobby just like playing guitar basically.
amazing. I really loved the end of this. This is probably one of my favorite versions I've heard of the song.
Yeah. And then at this point, Megan looked at the time left in the video as the band was walking off stage on video. Wait a minute, there's still 45 minutes left. How is this possible? Well, a triple encore.
I'm
and
telling
also
you,
15
they did not
minutes,
want to leave the stage.
And also 15 minutes of Michael teaching the Xavi polyrhythm clap.
Yeah, so he doesn't do this anymore, right?
No, thankfully.
Thank goodness, because this is a real buzzkill. I mean, I think that, we were talking about this a little bit before, but, I think that it's at the encore break. It's tolerable, but if I was at a show, this would really make me sad. And it doesn't pay off. Like the performance of the audience for the clapping, they didn't
Slackers.
learn it. Like they didn't learn it.
People in Paris in November 2019 did not know how to clap on time.
And you know what? Maybe they didn't want to. Maybe most of them aren't musicians. I'm like, let's not do this anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you get the spiel for a while. The thank you to the crew. The show's being recorded. Shout out to Neil, their engineer, who's mixing it in the bus overnight. Which shout out to all those people. Love the shout outs. And then
shout outs important.
And then they kind of play Xavi while teaching the crowd the claps for a little while, and it's weird. But eventually we get into the song. This is a good one. This is the one song from the show that exists in Pro Shot video on YouTube, which is cool. Which means that the venue or the Zykopolis, the French company that filmed it, they have Pro Shot of this entire show.
Oh God,
somewhere it
exists.
There are a few things like that where it was broadcast on French TV, and I tried so many times over the last couple of years to figure out a way to get it, but it's you need to have a TV provider that has this channel to be able to access it online, and now it's not online anymore.
Oh, that's such a bummer, because this show would be amazing to see in Pro Shop.
If anybody from that company is listening to this and wants to talk about how to get that out there, shoot us a message. Thank you.
We can help.
Anyway, back to this Xavi. We get nice solos from Maz, Zach, and Justin. Just really, really solid. I gave the crowd a B- on the clapping. Would you agree with that, or would you give them a lower grade?
I think it's worse. I think it's like a C. I mean, they're way off the beat. I mean, they're way off, and it bothers me because Snarky Puppy's too good to have this going on in the background. It's stop. I don't want this going on in the background. I think that this song already has great parts to it. I think after the trumpet solo, or during it, there's this deep, growly, repetitive riff underneath the solo that's super intense and menacing. Mm-hmm. And this song has such an interesting energy, just a lot different than some of the other stuff they play. And then when Zach comes in for his solo, he's using some really interesting effect, which works really well with the kind of robotic noises underneath. It sounds cool together.
Yeah. It's really, really good. And, again, shreddy stuff. And this is what I talked about during Kite. Justin's kind of faster, more upbeat road solo. And this one feels more bouncy. There's less chords. There's more just runs of notes. So it's really cool to compare the two. But solid song. Not my favorite at this point. But we've got 2 more encores left. Luckily, we're not done yet. What's cool is after they
and
walk
one of them
off,
is Shofukan.
Very exciting. But after they walk off after Xavi, a few people in the crowd start doing the Shofukan chant, which I'm surprised that Michael played it after that. He usually, won't do that if they're chanting for Shofukan, but they did.
Yeah, and Sean's like, you better sing this shit loud too. It's so fun.
Oh yeah, they're ready. He says we're gonna we played a lot of new shit tonight, so now we're gonna play something old. People get really excited, and I'm excited because you get a Michael bass solo here. This has started happening a lot more in the last few years. There's a good number from this fall tour with a Michael bass solo, and I love when he does this. It's just really more open-ended. Everyone kind of hangs back, lets him, obviously lead in his solo section, and it's really cool. A lot of bends. He's an incredible bass player. We talk about this a lot, but rarely in a solo spot like this.
gets to go off. I mean, this song just has the best vibes in general, and then to hear him come out with this solo, it's really delicate and soft, which sounds so nice with the kind of textured percussion underneath. But then the solo just builds, and it's awesome to watch him because he is moving really fast on that, like all along the neck of that bass. I mean, it is just the band and the crowd start to go wild when it's over, and when the band comes back in, it's so good. And I was really happy to see so many Michael solos. I think he should take more.
I agree. Hear, hear.
Yes, second that motion.
Yes. And then we get a great drum solo. You know, again, this is awesome. This drum solo, JT and Keita just going off. Sean or Bobby giving Sean a back rub during the drum solo. You know, like what better time? You know, they're playing a drum solo for like a couple of minutes or so. You can see there's video of the Shofukan from the Royal Albert Hall, which actually you should check out because it's a Bob Reynolds solo and it's really good.
Okay, I will.
But you can see like Bobby standing next to JT and like making faces at him during the drum solo.
Stop.
It's funny watching the things that they do, on stage. Like when I saw them in Buffalo in the spring, during What About Me, when like Sean and Justin were kind of doing some interplay stuff, the rest of the band was kind of standing side stage and just kind of watching and like dancing to what they were doing, and they were doing some like clap thing. But it's funny watching them again react to what the rest of the band is playing or just what they're doing during parts of a song where they're not playing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this band, the difference between watching them and listening to them is pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much going on and they're so dynamic that it's really fascinating to watch them. So I feel like if you can get a chance to watch them, it changes your experience with the music.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I recommend people listening to this show, find these videos on YouTube, watch while you're hearing it for the first time, because it really changes the experience. And that's why I wish there was more video available for Snarky Puppy shows, like especially going back to like the 2015, 2017 eras. Like there's so much cool shit that you could hear is happening. And like today's bonus track, for example, there's no video, and I would like kill someone for video of that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
I'm not exaggerating, by the way. If somebody has like a deal with the devil kind of thing, like I would do unspeakable things to get video of that. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
That is very dramatic and kind of frightening.
It's not that dramatic when you listen to that quartermaster, okay? But we'll get there. We've got another song to get through before we get there. We've got Encore number 3. We've got What About Me. This might be my favorite What About Me ever. I don't know. It's definitely in the top 5.
Wow.
It's so different, like,
yeah.
First of all, the crowd brings the band back on with the Shofukan riff, and if you listen to the recording on Nugs or wherever, you can hear they stop recording the show. Like it fades out at the end of Shofukan, and you can hear it fade back in at the beginning of the What About Me track. Because I guess they're like, all right, doing another one. Like, fuck it.
So awesome. I love the like dramatic leave the stage each time. It's like
right. Well, they think they're done,
that.
and then everyone's getting excited. They're like, okay, like fine, we'll do another encore.
That's like everyone's dream. Is like when Fish leaves the stage, and we're like, if we scream loud enough, maybe they'll come back.
Yeah. And then I just want to shout out the person that yells for Palermo in this slot.
So funny.
No, not good set listing. Luckily, Michael does not take requests like that. But that would not have been the call here. You've just done Shofukan. You're coming back on for a third encore. There are two things you can do here. You can play What About Me, or you can play Quartermaster.
Yeah, that's it. Even I know that.
Yeah,
I know that.
You can't put Palermo in encore number 3. But we get What About Me here. It's absolutely epic. A lot of the times, the beginning of the solo section, whoever's the drummer will start in a more aggressive, a faster beat. This one, JT just goes slow burn, heavy toms, very clearly sets like a riff up. Like, this is what's going to be happening. And Bobby's like, all right, I got you. And then just like this searing clav solo. It's just takes his time developing the vibe. You get some very early Moog bass work from, I think, Sean. This is one of the reasons why I want the pro shot video. I want to see who's doing what during this solo, because the camera we see is zoomed in on Bobby, which is an excellent angle. But I want to see, it looks like it's Sean based on when he walks back over to his rig. He briefly at the beginning of the solo, he goes and I think he goes and talks to Michael for a second and then walks back over. It's always funny. It's a side note, obviously tangent. But there's one show from February 2022 where during Mark is soloing on Chonks and Sean goes over and is having a full conversation with McQueen and making fun of the way Mark's leg looks during the solo. It's just really funny. It's you're in the middle of a concert, you're playing a song, and you're just socializing, basically.
Just chatting it up. Maybe this is why they didn't like the New Orleans show so much, because they couldn't chat with each other and make fun and, yeah.
But anyway, this What About Me? Pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I love the beginning. There's no easing into this. It just kind of boom. And then what you're saying, that part about how JT kind of lays the groundwork. And I cannot believe how much this clav sounds like guitar. Bobby's holding the notes and it sounds really fuzzy. And I definitely would have been so confused if I was listening to this. I would not have understood. And I think that I kind of feel like him and Michael get to share MVP of the show for me. Bobby really stood out. And this solo is insane. Yeah, it's really cool. And then, kind of the rest of the band joins in. This is my favorite kind of What About Me, where it's not just a solo, there's some group improv happening. Justin adding in very, very slow versions of the chords from the vamp of this song, get a riff from the horns. It's just awesome. And then, they get into it, and that's when I'm like, okay, Bobby's playing a guitar solo here. And then they go back into that slow section for a little bit during the vamp, and it just hits, man. It's so good. Yeah, the band is backing him perfectly. It sounds unbelievable. And then you got JT with another drum solo.
Really good. And I love, they start the drum solo again, charging straight ahead, very aggressive. And he says fuck it. And he just, you can just tell he kind of looks over and goes, Keita, and then Keita just jumps in immediately. And it's awesome. They've played What About Me I'm a lot over the course of this year. Both of these guys have been at a good number of shows throughout 2019, and so they're trying to find ways to keep it fresh, mix it up, be get Keita involved in this drum solo, another kind of thing. I would listen to this over the What About Me bass line for 10 minutes before I'd listen to a Tio Macaco for 10 minutes, because there's a melodic idea to latch onto. There's a melodic idea for them to play off of. You get Justin and Bobby kind of adding their own flavor into the vamp here with Rhodes and clav. It's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, they still had stuff to say this show. They weren't done yet. They're no, triple encore, we still have ideas. It's so exciting.
It's amazing. And that is the end of our show. for today. That's 11/22/19 in Paris. We are going to go 4 days into the future, Frankfurt, Germany, for my favorite Snarky Puppy thing of all time here, this quartermaster. But before we talk about the quartermaster, we kind of set the scene a little bit. There's a couple of guests happening here. We've got Eric Harland on drums, and we've got Chris Potter on the sax. The two of them had just guested on the previous couple of songs in the show. This whole show is awesome. Check it out. Sean takes like a 4-minute long piano intro to Semenci, and it's just beautiful. It's
nice.
really, really cool. Yeah, great Tarova, I believe. Great While We're Young, I think, with a Bobby solo. There's a lot of great stuff in this show. But real star, you get a Justin Rhodes intro to What About Me, which I've never heard him do any other time. And it's so cool the way he builds from, this classic Justin, like, I'm having a good time here on Rhodes, into the beginning of What About Me. It sounds awesome. Chris Potter takes the solo on that one on sax, which is just like, you hear him in this quartermaster. Like, he's unbelievable. One of the most legendary saxophone players on the planet. And then Eric Harland jumps in on Lingus on drums. He for the encore replaces JT. JT goes over and joins Keita on percussion. There is video of that Lingus on YouTube. Unfortunately, the person chose to video that and not the quartermaster.
How dare they?
I know. How dare they not know what was about to happen? But I don't think anyone knew what was about to happen here. This feels like they're coming out of the end of Lingus. They're all just like having such a great time here, and they just start playing. Like Eric Harland just starts playing like a funk beat. Michael gives a woo, which is always good. He's having a good time, and they just start playing a funk jam.
Yes, please.
And where is it going to go? We don't know. They're grooving along. Bobby shredding a little while. Horns kind of quoting Lingus, but not really. It's Lingus adjacent, if you will. And then Michael cues everyone. They all drop out except for him and the drums. Again, this is what you were talking about. More of that Michael solo action, and he modulates it into the proper key for quartermaster.
That Michael part is so effortless. It's just like super cool. I just like had this like stank face on when I was listening. Like, this dude is fucking cool. It's so great. The drums and percussion and that whole beginning part of the song are just absolutely perfect. Super intense, really great. And yeah, then they're kind of like improper, but it's like slowed down.
Yeah. So this is
so
only
cool.
They only played Quartermaster 5 times in 2019. And they have not played it since this version in Frankfurt. And I say that should be illegal.
Okay, well that is illegal, and they better play it for you on this fall tour.
I dare not hope such a thing.
How could they not have played Quartermaster since then? I feel like it's like one of the classic Snarky Puppy songs.
Yeah, they have. There's a lot of songs they haven't played in a while.
Yeah, but they're not all Quartermaster.
It's true. Yeah, you're like giving my argument for me. But yeah, it's so cool.
This is like their tweezer. Like, you have to play this song.
Yeah.
This is like, that's a Fish reference if you don't know Fish, but like, this is a song that if Fish stopped playing tweezer, there would be like revolts in the street. Like, this is, they should be playing.
Where is tweezer? Where is Quartermaster?
Yeah.
Where is it? But
where is it?
It's great, but a lot of Quartermasters where they start slow and funky, they end up going up to normal speed at some point later in the song. Brings to mind our bonus track from episode 1 from September 2015. There are another couple from later that year. Obviously, the other one that's kind of an anomaly is 10-13-15, a really slow and dreamy 20-minute one that we talked about in episode 2. But man, this is just, they're all just having such a good time. Sean is like, goading the crowd with various like, and like getting it to clap, like, but the way that the horns come in with the Quartermaster riff, sounds so full because you have a 4-piece horn section playing this. You've got Bullock, Maz, Justin, and Chris Potter playing this. And I think Chris Potter has played with Snarky Puppy a number of times before, and is a very high level musician, and so I'm sure they were able to very quickly be like, "This is the riff," and he got it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he knows what he's doing for sure. I just love how Sean engages the audience like that. He just brings such a soul to this band that is really kind of singular.
Yeah.
I think that when you have a musician that plays with that much heart and soul, it adds a depth to your band that you can't fake.
Yes, 100%. 100%. So our first solo of this song comes from Chris Potter. It's just vicious. Like his tone is like mean. It's awesome. It's like I kind of has like the smoothness of a Bob Reynolds tone, but with an added aggression that Bob doesn't play with. And it's so cool.
It has a lot of emotion, and the band is kind of playing almost like a bare bones kind of sound. Like there's just not a lot. They're not like filling up behind him. So he really stands out. It's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's great, very subtle vocoder work from Sean starts to come in. I love what he's doing here. We heard him with that as the focal point during the Bigley and the Paris show, but this is like he's accenting. It's very subtle. It's very like it's like breathy, kind of like in the background. It's just another layer to the music, but it sounds great.
Yeah, and it's probably harder to do. I think that instrument seems like it's big. It takes up a lot of space. Like when he plays the vocoder, it's like it's happening. So to hear him playing it really delicately is super cool.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Michael takes a bass solo next. Ooh,
yes, please.
Taking his time again. His tone is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's absurd.
It's so good, and the soundscape and the layers behind the solo are just absolutely perfect. I mean, his tone almost sounds like a stand-up bass solo. It just hits so deep. Like it sounds like he's not playing it sounds like he's playing a stand-up bass. It's so amazing. This show the show that we listened to and this version really just make me want him to play more and more solos. Agreed. I'm going to be the person screaming take a solo, Michael, at the next Snarky Puppy show.
Get a sign. People for more Michael solos.
Yeah. I've never really been a sign person, but maybe I'll become one. Who knows?
Start now. Get a t-shirt. Let Mike solo.
Yeah, exactly.
Or make Mike solo because he
make Mike solo.
Make Mike make himself solo.
Yeah, Michael solo, please.
Yes. So it's amazing. What's cool while Michael's solo is happening, you get this kind of little ba-na-na kind of ascending riff that's kind of emerging underneath, and his solo wraps up and they play the quartermaster riff again, but that riff is still there. And after they play the quartermaster riff again, Bobby comes in on the clav, and it's built around this really cool ascending lick, and Bobby just builds and builds and builds, so patient, so smooth. and it just ends in just like absolute triumph as they come in with the the ending, one of the ending horn riffs of Quartermaster. It's just the way that this finishes. It's so triumphant. It's so celebratory, and I don't know how they went on to play like 3 more shows on the tour after this. This feels like you just fly home after this. Like this is it.
This is the mic drop.
Pinnacle. Yeah,
this is the mic drop moment. Yeah, I think this is probably the most sultry, sexy Quartermaster I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, the horns are just so slow and sexy. It's this feeling of like, they're not coming to you. Like, you have to go to them. Like, it's like they've earned it. You're kind of like, okay, I'm going to come to you now. Like, it's just very good. I loved it. I think that, the way that they finish this off, it's just, is this like the end of the show?
Yeah, this is the end of the show. The Lingus was the encore. This is like the second song of the encore.
Okay, yeah,
you got to walk off. You can't play anything after this. Like, even if this was like the third song of the show, like you can't follow this with anything. And like,
no,
then the next night they were playing in like Zurich, Switzerland. It's like, how do you get on stage and be like, remember that thing we did last night? Like, we're now going to play another show. Like,
that's the thing about all these musicians that are at this level. They just continue to defy expectations. It's tremendous.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And, obviously the tour ended, big 7-month, like 100+ show tour. And obviously, for the ending Lingus, Sean forces Michael to take the solo because.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
You can't not do that.
No.
But yeah, I recommend everyone go and check out this whole show from Frankfurt. The whole thing is absolutely crazy. It's awesome. But it's hard to believe, Megan, that we have reached the end of episode 12 and the end of season 1 here on Things of Gold. What a journey it's been.
I know. I'm going to miss talking Snarky Puppy with you, Ryan.
Well, luckily, that's not going to stop because I'm not going to stop listening to them, and I'm also seeing them 4 times next month. So
I love that. I'm so jealous. I can't believe it's now turned into 4. This is really
I know. It was originally going to be 2, and now it's 4, So if anybody listening to this podcast is going to be at Music at the Intersection in St. Louis or the Breckenridge, Denver, or Boulder Snarky Puppy shows in late September, I will be at all of those. I will be very happy to be there. I will be, if you hear someone yelling for a quartermaster, I apologize. I will try to contain myself.
I love that. If you see Ryan, say hi. He's just such a fun person to see at a concert and brings the vibes always. So I'll be jealous of any of you that get to be in the room with him at a show.
Thank you. Well, I look forward to eventually when we will get to see Snarky Puppy together someday.
Yeah, that'll be the best.
It'll happen. Yeah. But, in the meantime, we really, really appreciate everybody's support throughout our season 1 here. Everybody who's been listening along. We've got some really exciting things in store from season 2, but, we're going to take a little bit of a break here. We've got other podcasts. You have a real life or something.
Something
like that.
Yeah, I'm excited about season 2. We have some really cool ideas.
Yes.
And it's looking like our kind of dreams for that season are going to come true. So stay tuned.
Get ready. Because
Get ready.
It's going to be something. But, to anyone seeing them this fall, have fun wherever you are. Again, always tag us in any photos or videos that you post. Let us know your favorite moments from this 11/22/19 Paris show or this fall Europe tour as a run. Let us know your thoughts on the band's sound, anything like that. We always want to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode and season of Things of Gold. Have a phenomenal day and fall tour, whatever you may be up to. We will see you when we see you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ryan.